Today we're going over the new refines in Update 9.8 in Fire Emblem Heroes, a reminder that there are a lot of half-anniversary events going on, plus True Legends 9 is happening in a couple weeks. You may want to hold off on any builds, since CYO usually brings some new skill types on the Brave Vaults. Back on topic, today we have new refines for Sedgar, Farina, Fallen Female Morgan, Plegian Katarina, and Nyx. We'll talk about all the new weapons, plus discuss some build ideas. Up first is Sedgar, a heroic grow green bow cavalier. Sedgar has okay offensive stats with a more balanced defensive spread. He got a new Howling Bow. This 14-my weapon states, at start of turn, if above 25% HP, inflict -7 speed and defense, discord, and the non-special anti-miracle status onto the closest foes and anyone within 2 spaces of that. For his own combat, Sedgar can get +5 to all stats, 7 flat DR against first attacks, and the full follow-up effect. Howling Bow focuses on Sedgar's speed and makes him a free-to-play source of the anti-miracle status. Even though Volley uses the actual miracle special, there have been plenty other units abusing miracle effects, which is very annoying if you don't have Fatal Smoke 4 or units like Rustvoger or Hathrin. Not a bad effect to have around. For the refined part, if initiating or near an ally, Sedgar gets +5 stats, low speed and defense, true damage equal to 20% speed, and bread type cooldown on each action. In terms of personal combat, Sedgar gets +10 stats, 7 flat DR, low speed and defense, no follow-up, and bread type cooldown. Not a bad selection of perks, but all pretty common effects. He's not going to be a menace in battle, but Sedgar is free to run a lot of other fun skills. For playstyle, Sedgar is pretty much a typical offensive bow cav. His speed isn't too bad, and his refined focuses on it more with no follow-up to double. He's got true damage based on 20% speed, and then multiple speed and defense debuffs. With his bread type cooldown, Sedgar can charge Curve Shot to get its 40% DR effect on a counterattack. He'll add 7 flat DR on top for okay protection, but obviously nothing insane. You can stack more true damage with Slice with Sparrow and Assassin Strike. You could also stack instant damage with Flared Strike as a setup. For utility, Kanto would be nice to have. Sedgar can go for Far Trace 4 or the Echo skill. The Shadow Assist skills could also be used too. If you don't care about his combat as much, you could use support skills like Insight Hone, Rally plus Ruse, Detector Snag, or perhaps Link buffs. We got Makai's Ring for extra actions, healing, and cleansing. Another utility build could utilize Wind or Water Sweep. Sedgar would still be able to double thanks to no follow-up, but sweep skills are meant to be annoying if the enemy doesn't have no C Disrupt. Sedgar could lay down Flared Sparrow Flame Towers or inflict Savage Blow type splash damage. Since he has breath type cooldown, Sedgar could maybe charge up AoE specials in 2 hits. For other skills, it's not ideal due to overlapping cooldown perks, but the new Arc 4th Breath gives true damage and DR piercing specials. Sedgar could run good old Desperation. If you want to try and tank, Remote or Fleeting Echo are options, but don't expect Sedgar to be surviving anything crazy. With stuff like Reflex going around though, can't totally underestimate anyone with damage reduction. All in all, Sedgar got a decent refine. It's not super fancy, but he got some nice effects, and if you really need anti-miracle as a status, then Sedgar is a free heroic grow option. Next, Farina is a retired 5-star Lance Flyer. She has okay speed and a balanced defense and res spread. Farina's Hotshot Lance gains Kanto 2 and has accelerated specials. If above 25% HP, Farina gets bonus stats based on how many Dragon Flowers she has. 5 or more gets her +12 to all stats. 4 is +10 stats, 3 is +8, and 2 or fewer is +6. If Farina has 3 Dragon Flowers, she gets the low effect to neutralize enemy field buffs. Basically, besides Kanto, Farina just upped her stat bonuses. If you're going to use her, she is a unit you kind of want to invest in, and if you're grabbing her refinement, you can probably spare 5 Dragon Flowers to get +12 to all stats. For the refined part, for foes within 3 rows or columns, Farina inflicts -5 attack speed and defense, and foes take 50% DR piercing. If initiating or near an ally, Farina gets 7 flat damage reduction and deals true damage equal to 5 plus the number of Dragon Flowers on Farina times 2. Farina is doubling her price from 5 to 10 Dragon Flowers. Give her that much to get an easy 25 true damage, not a bad trade. On top of this, you can get 7 flat damage reduction, and Farina inflicts debuffs up to upper stat advantages and reduce enemy % DR skills. Farina is a very jack-of-all-trades type unit. She wants 10 Dragon Flowers, and in exchange you get +12 to all stats and 25 true damage. She even has the low effect to deny enemy field buffs. You can take Farina in a lot of directions, but speed's still one of her best stats. Farina could make use of the new Celestial Form special, speed scaling damage with 40% unpierceable DR, and you can utilize terrain effects to activate it. Farina can stack more flat DR with Excel, and you can stack more true damage with skills like Speed Take or Assault Force or Potent Assault. There's even Momentum. Very basic offensive setup, plus Farina has 50% DR piercing and Conto 2 to retreat. If you want to ensure she can double and not get doubled, Odd Speed Wave 4 can give no follow-up. For other skills, Trample can give Desperation, which would be fun with Potent, or Emblem Erica's Ring. For mobility, Speed and Defense Hold Guide or Air Orders can help the team out. Soaring Guidance or Echo also works, plus you got any Flyer Mobility Sacred Seals. If you want a more brawling setup, Fortifications can be used. Flowguard 4 can offer Scowl, and Pegasus Rift is an option, although Farina ideally wants 40 flat res to get the most out of that skill. Haze Slice can give 40% DR on all hits taken, but it's a player phase effect only. Celestial Form will be good, but you could use Ice Wall as well. One issue for Farina for that will be cooldown. She has Slang and Speed Taker has no guard, but if you want extra cooldown you would need to use Heavy Blade, Momentum, or get outside help. Overall, Farina's Refine isn't crazy, but it's a solid amount of stats, and 25 true damage assuming you pay the Dragonflyer price. She's a very balanced unit stat-wise, so you can build her in a lot of other ways. Our next Refine is for Fallen Female Morgan, last the Fallen Hero batch for this year. This Morgan is an X-Flyer, min-maxed for lower speed. Axe's Despair got a few additions. It now has Conto 2 with Slang. If above 25% HP, Morgan inflicts -6 attack and defense and deals true damage equal to 5 times the number of advantageous statuses in the fight. If she gets 5 statuses in her favor, then Morgan can get up to 25 true damage. The last effect is the same as the base effect from before. Morgan can get 3 perks based on the total number of field buffs on Morgan, plus the number of debuffs on the foe. With 5 buffs/debuffs, Morgan prevents 1 follow-up attack. With 10 total, Morgan gets a free follow-up herself. With 15 or more, Morgan inflicts guard on the foe. Simple upgrades for Axes of Spare, Conto 2 is great, and Morgan wants statuses along with stat advantages in the fight. For the Refine, at start of either phase, if above 25% HP, grant +6 tech and defense, Rally Spectrum, and Hexblade to Morgan and allies within 2 spaces. In combat, Morgan inflicts more attack and defense debuffs equal to 6 plus 10% flat defense. She then gets flat damage reduction equal to 20% defense in combat. A little while back, Fallen Male Morgan got his Refine, and it seems like Female Morgan followed a similar pattern. Extra true damage, flat DR, and some support. Male Morgan got Hush Spectrum from Female Robin, Female Morgan gets Rally Spectrum from Male Robin. Cute detail, and the 2 Morgans can now have buffs and debuffs that will activate their weapons. If you paired them together, you could get 4 advantageous statuses already. That will help Female Morgan get her max true damage potential. As a reminder, Hexblade gives adaptive damage and Rally Spectrum gives +5 total stats along with Preempt Pulse's instant cooldown. If you do not have Slang, you can get up to -2 cooldown. For Morgan, she only gets -1 cooldown, but with Slang, this will allow her to proc Haze Slice instantly since it has its own built-in cooldown. You can make a very simple Haze Slice plus Excel player phase build. Morgan can try to get into attack range with skills like Tempest, Rain Snap, or Hold Guide. For extra damage, Assault Force is pretty good. Debuff Neutralization, 20% defense is true damage, and 50% DR piercing. You could try Potent Assault, but Morgan does not have high speed at all, so you might only Potent follow-up on other slower tanks. For other skills, Morgan could upgrade from Dive Bomb to Aerial Maneuvers. These are simple desperation skills, though you could use Trap on the A slot as well. Morgan only has Omnibreaker for follow-up, so desperation will be a bit risky regardless. For more defensive skills, Fortifications can be fun. You could also just use regular distant counter and out shield. Haze Slice is good, but it's player phase only. Morgan could use Gambit or Guard Bearing 4 for percent DR on either phase, though these will get pierced. Reopening is an option for flat DR, but Morgan has a follow-up which would cut the true damage and flat DR amounts in half. Now on the specials front, Momentum is an option. With Slang, Rally Spectrum, and Momentum, Morgan could charge 3 or 4 cooldown specials. You could run Bonfire, Ignis, No Quarter, or maybe even an AoE special. If you want Unpierced with percent DR on either phase, you could run Ice Wall, but Morgan doesn't really affect res, which is needed for a stat check. You could wait for a defense version, but who knows if that will ever come. All in all, Fallen Female Morgan gets an alright Refine. Rally Spectrum is an ace general status for just about anyone. Unfortunately, slow defensive Cavs and Flyers just don't have as many good skills for taking on either phase. Haze Slice and Excel are great, but they're geared for initiating. For the season Refine this month we have Plegian Katarina. She's a flying blue mage with decent offenses and the usual okay res with awful defense mage stats. Katarina's Flambeau will get Far Trace Force Conto remaining for minimum Conto 1. She also has Slang. If above 25% HP, or if next to 1 or fewer allies, Katarina inflicts -5 stats. She then inflicts more debuffs equal to the highest total penalty on each stat between the target and foes within 2 spaces. Last, Katarina will deal true damage equal to 20% speed. Flambeau used to be a solo condition weapon, that is no longer the case. Along with Kanto and true damage, the penalty doubler effect has now been upgraded to the sabotage effect. That is to say, you can now borrow debuffs from nearby foes in the case the main target has debuff neutralization. For the Refine, each turn Katarina inflicts -7 speed and res, panic, and the share spoils plus on the closest foes and foes within 2 spaces. If above 25% HP, Katarina gets +5 stats, 7 flat DR for first attacks, and full no follow-up effects. Katarina now self-inflicts debuffs to activate her sabotage effect. -7 speed and res become -14 total, and panicked field buffs also count towards sabotage. If the foe can't get rid of debuffs and they have field buffs active, then they're going to be in big trouble. All of this is good, but Katarina, I would say, has the most surprising refiner this month because for some reason she's getting Lapis's share spoils. In fact, she inflicts share spoils without fighting, which is something Lapis doesn't do. This is pretty huge because share spoils as a status inflicts -5 stats and gives 100% DR piercing to allies. In addition, if you take out the target, share spoils grants an extra action. This can only happen once per turn, but that is an insanely strong effect to have. Very cool to see Katarina get this thing. In terms of playstyle, Katarina is generally going to stack offensive stats like normal. She's got no follow-up to double and counter to retreat a little. With share spoils, Katarina inflicts even more debuffs, and she has full DR piercing, so you don't really need things like resonance or magic light. For typical initiation, you could run Sly or Flared Sparrow with a Cultist Strike. This month you can get a T-Time Lysithea Ephemera for Desperation 4 plus Attack and Speed Ult 4, that's not too bad. Katarina isn't going to be an insane damage dealer, but she could potentially rack up debuffs to do some work. If possible, try to get her attack debuffs and maybe Katarina can shrug off some hits. You could use Remote Sparrow or Fleeting Echo for some regular % DR. If you can stack a lot more res, you could try Ice Wall, but I don't know if I would actually recommend using it. Cooldown is still kind of an issue for ranged flowers. If you just want to use Katarina for her support aspects, then she can ferry allies around with flyer mobility skills. The usual guidance, soaring echo, air order type skills will be fine. Air Orders 4 can also get a flyer team in range to attack and use those extra actions. Now, on the new banner, Speed and Res Detect will be available. Katarina can add exposure and then more Speed and Res debuffs. Interesting, but hard to get skill is Attack and Defense Snag 4. Snag 4 in general inflicts the Sabotage status. That will stack with the Refine. You can also stack Foe Penalty Doubler as well. In addition to that status, this skill inflicts Attack and Defense debuffs to match Katarina's Speed and Res debuffs. This would be a nice little debuffing setup, and with Emblem Makai's Ring, you can get a little more out of support builds like this. For some cheaper skills, link buffs can be used. On the more premium side, Silence Ward can give cooldown and Nelsie Disrupt support. Plegian Katarina will be a fun refine to mess with since Share Spoils is super rare. Lapis has to initiate to inflict it, while Katarina can just do it each turn. It can be cleansed away, but still, this is a very cool ability to kind of just get out of the blue. Katarina herself might not be the deadliest unit, but she will allow one of her stronger allies to possibly go again. Last refine for this month is Nyx, which I'm going to spend some time on. The Rule Breaker Mage has always been a funny unit thanks to her built-in damage reflection. Surviving to actually reflect back said damage though was always the main issue. Ginnungagap, the tome, not the unit, is a 14-man weapon that grants +3 speed. At start of combat, if above 25% HP, Nyx gains bonus attack and speed equal to 6 plus 10% of her flat speed stat. In addition, if initiating, or if an enemy mage/healer initiates onto Nyx, she gets 40% DR for first attacks with an S, and Nyx's next counterattack deals true damage equal to the total damage she reduces. To go one step further, if above 1 HP, Nyx gets the Miracle effect to survive a fatal blow. Ginnungagap adds a little more attack and speed, and the 40% DR now works on brave attacks. That's not really going to help against any serious attacker. Instead, Nyx is just going to rely on built-in Miracle. Let's finish the rest of the refine before we talk more about this weapon. At start of either phase, if above 25% HP, Nyx grants +6 attack and speed, anathema, and no follow-up to herself and allies within 2 spaces. In combat, Nyx gets +6 more attack and speed, she deals true damage equal to 20% speed, and last, she heals 10 HP after combat. Alright, so Nyx isn't going to be overtaking the game or anything, but she is now an extremely fun unit that can smack around much stronger enemies if they don't counter her gimmick. The damage reflection effect is based on total damage reduced. Miracle keeps a unit alive if they suffer a fatal blow, and it does this by reducing all the damage you take after your unit is left with 1 HP. This effect can stack with the Reflex status from Legendary Black Knight that is also being added on the new T-Time Harmonic Ingrid. It also will stack with Brash Assault 4, which has a different type of damage reflection. None of what Nyx is going to be doing is new. The Refine simply adds Miracle into the weapon. No more charging the 5 cooldown Miracle special or needing an ally like Ymir. Nyx will also be able to self-loop the Miracle effect. She heals 10 HP after combat. There are a lot of drawbacks to this weapon. Take note that Nyx needs to start combat above 25% HP. If an AoE special or out-of-combat splash damage drains all her HP, then it won't matter. I've seen some people mistake effects like Divine Nectar or Breath of Life 4 being able to heal back above the 25% HP check. That does not work because the at start of combat HP check is the very first thing applied in battle. As combat begins, instant healing is still useful to cancel out the as combat begins instant damage. If a unit like Dual Leon takes Nyx to 1 HP with his instant damage, then obviously Miracle's not going to activate. Another HP issue is that if your Nyx has a lot of HP herself, then the 10 HP healing might not cover 25% of her HP for looping. If Nyx is above 45 base HP, you're gonna need extra healing on top. For other issues, there are more and more anti-miracle effects that work on non-special miracle. We literally just got a heroic Grail unit with this ability in this refined batch. Now, there's an even simpler counter to this tactic, and that's Brave Hits / follow-ups. If Nyx gets hit twice, it's probably over. Miracle plus damage reflection can be super funny, or it can fall flat on its face. It really depends on the enemy's skills. Nyx will still contribute to her team with attack, speed, anathema, and no follow-up support. If you want to add another support skill, Silence Ward actually isn't a bad idea. On the enemy phase, Nyx only gets Miracle against mages or healers. I would not recommend running close counter, but Silent Ward's No-See Disrupt effect will allow Nyx to fight back against healers or just sweep effects in general. She can carry Breath of Life 4 as well, but a reminder that the anti-deep wounds part only works in combat. For her own combat, Nyx still needs to face enemy %DR skills. Besides the damage reflection, Nyx is kinda just gonna be gunning for full damage builds anyway. You can run Verge of Death for pure attack and speed and sacrificing defense and res. Tempo 4 can give 50% DR piercing, and you can use the Magic Light special for full DR piercing. Stack more true damage with Slice with Sparrow, Occultist Strike, or even the Lagu's Friend skills. If we're gonna abuse the funny damage reflection miracle cheese, you should try to get Reflex from Legendary Black Knight or the new Ingrid. Double the true damage, and you could even run Brash Assault 4 for a lower amount of damage. Now, Nyx can plan for counters to her shenanigans. First, you could still loop the Miracle special. We've been able to do this with things like Emblem Mars Ring, Lagu's Friend, Times Pulse 4, etc. The damage reflection is still the same, but the actual Miracle special is tougher to stop. In regards to healing, Deep Wounds will still counter Nyx's 10 HP after combat, which deactivates Ginnungagap in the next fight. One way to get around this is to heal in combat. I don't mean instant healing, I'm referring to on-hit healing effects like from Finish 4 or specials like Flare. Breath of Life and Imbue can counter Deep Wounds partially, both stack to only reduce healing by 25%. With Hathorn though, Divine Nectar neutralizes Deep Wounds entirely. If you want Nyx to enemy phase multiple foes, you might want to grab one of these statuses and then go with skills like Finish and Flare. The new Arcane Renegade Sword can also share on-hit healing. In conclusion, Nyx's Refine is just a little silly. She does get to play around with Miracle and Damage Reflection without needing specific setups. Damage Reflection in general has kind of been all the rage this year, starting with Johanna Lance and more recently Black Knight's Reflex. It is very fitting for Nyx to join in on that fun since she's been toying around with this idea for ages. That will be it for this month's Refined batch. Let me know what you think and good luck with your builds. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Tea Time Seasonal Banner. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon.